ultimate party machine.
Oh, look at that!
Stop having a boring life.
Oh, look at that!
The ultimate party machine.
Hello and welcome to Infomercial, the show where we provide colorful commentary on infomercials past, present, and future. I am Jack.
I'm McKenna.
And today we will be presenting our Season 1 finale. And on this episode we will be doing a little new segment for you all. We will not be reviewing any infomercials. Instead, we are presenting the 2025 infomercial cage match presented by Infomercial. We are going to be pitting our lovely hosts against each other. We are going to be trying to determine the ultimate infomercial hosts.
A tournament, a
bracketed tournament. For this episode, we have 7 of our lovely hosts from Season 1. McKenna, would you like to get into
Yes.
our hosts?
I'll do the seeding.
Yes, thank you.
So before this episode started, Jack and I got together to actually seed our hosts to determine the bracket. So our number 1 seed is, of course, Billy Mays, for the reason that he is just so insanely popular. So we felt like he had the most star
Cachet,
power.
the most pull.
Yep. Okay, and then so our second seed is Kathy Mitchell. While she may not be as well known, she is in dozens of infomercials, most of which we obviously didn't even watch. But she is the infomercial queen, and she has a lot of experience with products.
If you know, you know.
Yeah. Seed number 3 is Mick and Mimi. While they may not be as well known, the Bullet infomercial is a classic, and a lot of people know about it. Very successful product.
Yep.
Number 4, we have Lance from the Slap Chop and ShamWow commercials. Not quite as prolific as some of the others, but still very popular. Number 5 seed, we have Ed McMahon. Mm-hmm. His product may not have done so well, but Ed McMahon himself is obviously well known.
Yeah.
After Ed McMahon, in the 6th slot, we have Joe Fowler. We hadn't heard about him before going into this season.
Yeah.
But the last seed, number 7, is Joe Farrago.
Rest in peace.
For hopefully obvious reasons, but also because he's the number 2 man in all of his infomercials. He's not steering the ship the way some of these other characters are.
Yep. So we have bracketed these hosts. We've ranked Billy Mays number 1, which means for the purposes of this tournament, he gets a first round bye. So he is automatically moving on to round 2. The first round of matchups for all of our hosts is going to be Kathy Mitchell versus Joe Farrago. Second, we have Lance from Slap Chop versus Ed McMahon. And then we have Mick and Mimi versus Joe Fowler. For our tournament, we are ranking each contestant on a strict 3-section criteria. We are scoring them based on this criteria, and then whoever ranks higher will move on. Okay? And our 3 categories are physical strength, cunning, and experience and wisdom.
The idea being that if they were in a true physical fight to the death, physical strength, cleverness, or cunning would obviously be important, as well as wisdom and experience to get them to the edge of the end of the match.
Yeah. For the first round, McKenna and I went ahead and filled out our individual brackets, and we're going to discuss these scores now for the first time.
Round 1.
Game 1. Okay.
All right, so let's start with Kathy.
Okay.
Okay, so for Kathy, physical strength, I gave Kathy a 6.
I gave her a 5.
Okay.
I think low center of gravity helps.
Okay.
So
She's short.
her ability to get low in a grappling style situation, she is going to go low on Joe Farrago and take out his legs.
All right, so do we want to go with 5 or 6?
I'm going to go with 5.
Joe, for physical strength, I said 6, only because he's probably just about as strong as Kathy when you bring in the fact that he probably has more muscle mass and he is taller.
Well, I do think the fact that he may have been a father, so dad's strength may come into this, right? The sort of unassuming, this man's fat, but he's also probably really strong. Okay. And also the FEMA stuff. If you're a first responder, you have to have some type of strength.
But he wasn't a FEMA person. He was teaching the FEMA people.
Okay,
Although I guess he was a firefighter.
Okay, that requires some strength.
Okay, so let's give him a 6 then. So he's 1
Okay,
point more than Kathy.
wait. Mine was 3. I gave him a 3. I gave him a 3 for strength, okay? I feel like he has
said he was a firefighter.
Well, you're convincing me to just think about my score a little bit. I will concede that he probably has some secret strength, right? I will say, for Joe, let's go 5. For Kathy, for cunning.
For cunning, I said she was 8.
I gave her a 5 because I feel like she's a little bit more honest, right? She's not, cunning is not in her nature. she's not going to try to deceive anybody. That's what I think of when I think of cunning, right? Are you going to outsmart the person no matter how dirty it requires?
But let me push back on this.
Okay.
Because I feel like cunning is also just like being smart in a situation on like problem solving, like how to get out of something. And another way in which I feel like Kathy has demonstrated her intelligence is through the creation and naming of her many gourmet recipes, kukitsas.
Yeah.
Her little
Cine minis.
Her
She didn't name
eggsters.
that. Yeah, that's good.
That takes creativity.
Let's give her a 7. I'm changing my score on Joe Farago, and I'm bringing him up to an 8.
Wow.
The reason I say this is because think about how many times this man has been kicked down, beaten, bruised by the industry. From movie star to first responder educator. Okay? Who would ever be in the Terminator and then go, you know what? I'm going to continue by educating people as a first responder. Right?
Okay.
He has the ability to get himself out of a sticky situation. He is resilient. I'm going with 8 for Joe.
Wow. So we're going to have to talk about this because I gave Joe a 2.
Okay.
Because he
Yikes.
seems like a bit of a dolt.
Okay. I mean, fair, right? Fair. I'm maybe giving him a little more credit. So I think fair.
We saw him fumbling in that game show.
He did fumble, but also, it's not about where you start, it's about where you finish. So let's say a 5. Me right in the middle.
Okay.
A 4.
Okay.
4.
A 4, yeah.
4. And then lastly, experience, wisdom. Kathy, I gave her a 7. How many times has she brought a new product to the market and everyone went, oh my gosh, I need that right now.
Yeah.
Okay? But also, I do think a little bit, like, how many of these are kind of, like, shitty products? Microcrisp? We didn't even review that. That's one of the worst fucking products I've ever seen. And we didn't even give that the time of day on this show.
Right.
So I do feel like what she's investing her time into, maybe the wisdom, not really sticking, right? She's kind of not picking the best stuff, right? If she picked the magic bullet, she'd be a superstar, okay? So
Maybe.
7, I'll say, you're doing some good stuff, but there's some work to do.
I think that's valid. I put 9, but I will agree with your ranking in that she didn't always pick the best products.
Yeah.
And maybe if she had been a little more wise,
a little more discerning,
she would have picked some better products.
Let's give her an 8.
Okay.
Let's give her an 8. Joe, what would you give him for experience and wisdom?
So I have a little note for this one.
Oh, okay.
So Joe, obviously,
preamble.
Joe has experience because he's been in the Terminator.
Yeah.
He's been in a Star Trek episode, and a Seinfeld episode. He has all this experience. He's a firefighter.
Yeah.
Does he have wisdom? No.
Okay.
So I gave him a 4.
Okay, I gave him a 5. Let's give him a 5. I mean, you can't be...
We'll make a case for it.
Okay, well,
Why give him a 5 instead of a 4?
Well, I do feel like, if you're in major motion pictures, that should give you... we don't have a single other host on this list who's been in a major motion picture.
That we know of, yeah.
So I feel like a 4 is kind of disrespectful to someone like that. I haven't been in Star Trek.
Okay.
So, I don't feel like a 4. I feel like let's just give him halfway, right? Halfway, right down the middle.
All
just
right.
for being there.
All right.
A 5. Okay. Adding all of our scores up. For Joe Farago, we have a 5 for physical strength, a 4 for cunning, and a 5 for experience, putting him at a 14 for the first round. Kathy Mitchell, we have a 5 for physical strength, a 7 for cunning, and an 8 for experience and wisdom, putting her at a 20.
Kathy Mitchell wins the first round.
Kathy Mitchell is moving on to round 2, where she will be facing Billy Mays. Now we are moving on to round 2. Or not round 2, we're moving on to match 2.
Yeah. Can I just say really quick, the reason that we have Mick and Mimi together...
Oh, yeah.
They're a duo. They're like the Wonder Twins. They can't be separated.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't even bother ranking them at all if they were separate, right?
Correct,
it's basically like they would just die off without each other.
Right. All right, go ahead then. For physical strength.
4. I gave him a 4.
You gave him a 4 for physical strength?
I did. I gave him a 4 for physical strength. I do not see... First off, the magic bullet is doing all of the work for them. So not once during those infomercials is there strength on display.
That's true.
Okay?
They're just pressing it with their finger.
They're just pressing with their finger, right? They basically told on themselves. They said, we are not strong. We're telling the world we're not strong, okay? We cannot do these tasks, so here's a product that will do them for you. So I'm going to give them a 4.
Okay.
The only reason that they're not getting lower is because there's 2 of them, so it's like, okay,
yeah,
probably worst comes to worst.
I gave them a 5, kind of for similar reasons. I figured maybe if one is lacking, the other might kind of, help out. So I feel like a middle of the lane is probably where they're at.
I don't feel convinced enough to give them a 5. I think a 4 is fair.
Okay, that's all right.
I think a 4 is fair. Now for Joe, for physical strength.
Yeah, I have a note on this one too.
My man's got a dumper on him. He's got a dumper. He is moving earth with that thing. Okay? 7.
Wow.
He is fucking strong. I can tell that motherfucker's benching 3 plates. I can tell that he's squatting 400. And he's kind of a psychopath. Honestly, now that I'm saying it, I might want to mark him higher, but I'll just go 7 because I don't think you have him that high.
I do not have him that high.
7, I mean, I just feel like a little bit deranged. You put him in a cage match, you take the glasses off, and he's swinging for the fences. He's probably taking both of their heads and slamming them together like coconuts.
Okay. I'm willing to go up because the deranged comment is true.
Yeah.
But I ranked him at a 4 because we have seen him try to display his strength, and he struggled to lift a microwave.
No, he didn't struggle. He picked up that microwave.
With great struggle.
No, he was displaying the fact that it was, yes, it was an unwieldy beast, but, just like when someone catches a great 100-pound fish in the ocean, right? They struggle, right? But they eventually pull it in.
Is a microwave a 100-pound fish
swimming
against the current?
I'm just saying in that circumstance when he was picking it up with the handy chef, that's equivalent. That's equivalent to picking up a wild-caught,
If he's benching 300, he should be able to pick up a microwave.
Okay, I will concede to that, but I do think that he is stronger than you give him credit for. I think a 6 is fair.
Okay.
For cunning, for Mick and Mimi, I'm going with a 6 simply for the fact that, 2 brains are better than 1, but I don't see any circumstances in which they are able to, in a cage match, in a do-or-die situation, they're able to outthink their opponent.
I gave them a 7, but I'll go with a 6 because I don't have a compelling case for a 7.
Okay. For Joe.
For Joe.
8. I'm giving him an 8. Simply because...
Dude, you love Joe.
No, I'm just saying, let's think about this honestly. Cage match scenario. Cage match. Joe is crazy.
That's not cunning.
Cunning is able to outsmart people and able to, think about them, put them into traps, put them into unfavorable situations in which they will act against their own best interests. Joe is going to do some crazy stuff to Mick and Mimi.
Okay, so I gave Joe a 5. So I don't totally disagree, but I don't think of him as being a particularly intelligent person.
So let's meet in the middle. We'll go to a 7.
Okay, that's fine.
And then for our last category for Mick and Mimi, for experience and wisdom, I'm going to go with an 8. Simply because all of the recipes that they had to have memorized, they did not look at any recipe cards. They did not reference any materials. They had them all memorized. And that level of experience, that is the level that a duo who is operating at peak powers is pulling off.
I think that's a pretty weak argument.
Okay, what?
I gave them a 3.
What the?
Because they don't seem... First of all, they're pretty young. They're like a young midlife. They're like early 40s. Okay. So they don't have a ton of experience. They're not in any other infomercials. The only reason I actually gave them a 3 is because they are from Australia. And
why the fuck would that give them more experience?
Or rather, Mick is from Australia. You ever heard about the Outback? You ever seen those animals out there? Deadly. He has the experience of
He's not
fighting.
Steve Irwin.
He's fought kangaroos in the Outback more than likely.
Okay. I mean, he's probably come across one at least.
Yeah, so that's experience that could be relevant in a cage match.
Okay, you've convinced me, but I will bring my score down to a 5.
Okay.
And then for Mr. Joe Fowler, I'm going with a 4 for experience and wisdom.
That's what I did too.
Okay, so we don't need to even elaborate.
Yeah,
a 4,
we both agree on a 4.
Yep, a 4 is fair. I think we have our first upset. Mick and Mimi have a 4 for physical strength, a 6 for cunning, and a 5 for experience and wisdom, putting them at a 15. Joe Fowler, on the other hand, has a 6 for physical strength, a 7 for cunning, putting him at 13, plus a 4 for experience and wisdom, putting him at 17.
Yep.
Meaning Joe Fowler,
our first upset,
our psychotic, deranged, dump truck ass of a man, will be styling it for walls in the second round.
Styling it for the win.
Okay, so now we're moving on to game 3. Ed McMahon versus Lance from Slap Chop.
We don't know his last name.
Yeah, we don't know his last name, but we're going to go with that. So, for physical strength for Ed McMahon, I went with a 1.
Okay.
Okay, wait. First off, wait, are we talking about someone else? You're looking at me like a crazy person.
No,
Did you see the way he ate that onion ring in that commercial? It was like he was bench pressing.
I have an argument to make, but I'll let you make yours first.
The argument is that he's feeble, he's an old man with, old man problems. Mm-hmm. I worked in a nursing home. I know how this goes. Ed McMahon could have been one of my patients. A 1. A 1, and you're going to have to convince me strongly otherwise to not go with a 1.
Okay. I gave Ed McMahon a 7.
Gee, what the? A 7?
And here's why.
Stronger than Joe Fowler?
I understand that he's old.
Yeah.
That's true. He did tell us that he played football in college.
Okay, he's pulling an
And
Uncle
he said
Rico.
he said he weighed like 500 pounds.
No, he said
which is why he needed his miracle fryer.
No. This is what I'm saying. He said he weighs as much as he did when he played football because of the Miracle Fryer. He didn't say he was as strong as he was when he was playing football. He just said he weighed as much as he did.
He was a football player, though. You can't. I just don't think you can give him a 1. I don't think that's possible. Maybe not a 7, but not a 1.
Okay, I will go up to a 4.
Because he's also tall.
That doesn't mean
He's
anything
over
to
6
me.
foot.
Okay, I will go with a 4. He's stiff. He's stiff. He cannot. You're telling me he's limber?
Well, no, but that's not physical strength.
Will you accept a 4?
A 4. I will accept a 4. For Lance, I gave him a 10. He's
a 10.
Lance is working out. He's like a gym daddy.
I give him a 5.
Do we need to look at pictures of him again?
A gym daddy? Yeah. Do you know what a gym daddy looks like? What the heck?
No, but he obviously works out, and he's young,
Okay, yeah.
and he's fit.
Okay, I'll give him a 7.
Okay, so for cunning for Ed, I gave him a 4 because he probably was smart at one time, but he's obviously struggling with sundowning.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I gave him a 3.
Well, let's do a 3 then.
Okay, a 3. For Lance, I gave him a 6.
I also gave him a 6.
Perfect. Look at that. No need to
Because
debate.
he came up with those rhymes on the spot in his slap
that's
chop
true.
commercial.
I don't know if I'd call that cunning. I would just...
It means he's, kind of smart.
Okay. We didn't put intelligence. We put cunning.
I know, but anyway.
Okay. Experience and wisdom. Ed, 9.
9. I gave him a 9.
Okay, wow. Okay, jeez.
He has
look at
tons of experience.
Tons of wisdom.
And he's old, so he's probably got wisdom.
that. Yeah. Lance, I gave him a 6.
I gave him a 2.
Oh, okay.
I
That's probably more fair.
Yeah, I think he's probably, he got in trouble for, punching that prostitute or whatever.
Right.
So I don't think he's, terribly wise.
Yeah.
And he's too young to be experienced.
He's very green.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
He's very,
Let's give him a 2. I think a 2
Do you want me to go up to a 3?
No.
Okay.
You've convinced me. Okay.
So who's the winner here?
We have Ed with a 4 for physical strength, a 3 for cunning, and a 9 for experience and wisdom, bringing him up to a 16. Lance, we have a 7 for physical strength, a 6 for cunning, and a 2 for experience and wisdom, bringing him up to a 15, meaning Ed McMahon.
Ed McMahon is
You
our
are
winner.
moving on, my friend. You get to live another day.
So I guess this is probably the best time to point out that we did in fact get Lance's name incorrect.
Right, we have misnamed him.
We took a break recording
Yeah.
these 2 sections, and in that time I've realized that his name is actually Vince, but we've been calling him Lance this whole time, so that's just going to be his nickname for us is Lance.
Yeah, Lance. So.
But he's not moving on, so...
Okay, so we are moving on to round 2. We have Billy Mays facing off against Kathy Mitchell, and we have Joe Fowler facing off against Ed McMahon. And I just want to say I was not anticipating a Joe Fowler Ed McMahon matchup.
Yeah, that one was kind of surprising. Let's start with Billy versus Kathy.
Let's start. Physical strength for Billy Mays. I'm going to say, based on the Turbo Tiger infomercial, I'm going to give him a 9.
Okay.
Strong puppy. We saw him pick up that table. And the bowling ball. And just looking at him, I mean, he looks like a fucking unit.
Yeah, I gave him a 10.
Okay, a 10. A
You
10
wanna
I think
give
is
him a
fair.
10?
I think a 10 is fair. And Kathy, unfortunately, going up against Joe Farago, she took a little bit of damage. She took a little bit of damage, so her physical strength is down a little bit. So she is going to get, I think, a 4. I think she's a little wounded coming into this fight.
Okay, she's got 1 point off. She went from a 5 to a 4. Yeah, because her and Joe Farago were evenly matched in strength.
Yeah.
So she probably got a little fatigued after her first match.
Yep. For cunning.
For Billy Mays.
I my heart says a 5. I feel like he's pretty straight as an arrow, and I don't really feel like cunning is really in his vocabulary.
I gave him a 6 because basically the same reason.
Okay.
He's obviously smart.
Yeah.
But he might have a little bit more of a moral compass.
Yeah.
So let's give him a 5.
Kathy's cunning, though, however, I feel like while she may have taken a hit in her physical strength, she was able to replenish calories via a kukitsa in between rounds, made in the express ready set oven, which has made her more cunning because she's ready to go. The gears are turning.
I personally feel like because she had to destroy her ex-partner,
Yeah.
she feels a little bit, she has anger and frustration, right? Like,
Okay.
she's already done the hardest thing for her to do, which is to take out her friend
Yeah.
Joe. So now she's just like, she's not like concerned with hurting Billy or like doing
Oh.
anything like
So
below
she's giving
the belt.
up.
No, she's not giving up. She's like fueled to finish the job because she just finished off her friend.
But wouldn't that mean that if she's willing to do whatever, she'd have to be cunning because she has to maybe play a little bit dirtier,
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so she's more cunning.
Yeah, she's more cunning.
Okay, so she's an 8.
Okay, yeah, she went from a 7 to an 8.
She went from 7 to an 8. Experience and wisdom, for Billy, I'm just gonna say this right now, okay? And you're not gonna like this, but if we're speaking strictly Turbo Tiger, this is like not OxyClean yet. We're not.
But OxyClean is in our commercial medley, so we can use OxyClean.
Okay, so I'm gonna say experience. I'm gonna say a 6.
Okay, I said a 7. Because he has probably more experience, more commercials, and more products than anyone else on this list.
Okay, I think a 7 is fair.
Okay.
You've convinced me.
What about Kathy?
I'm gonna still say an 8. Actually, no. I'm gonna give her a 9 because not only does she have the experience from her infomercials, she has the experience from her previous fight against Joe Farrago.
That's true.
So that adds experience.
I just feel like if Billy is a 7, she can't be a 9. That
Okay.
seems too out of whack.
Okay,
Let's
well
give
then-
her an 8.
We'll give her an 8. That's fair.
So for our second round here, Billy versus Kathy, Billy has 10 points for physical strength, 5 points for cunning, and 7 points for experience and wisdom, which gives her...
Him.
him.
22.
22 points.
Okay.
Kathy has 4 points for physical strength, 8 points for cunning, and 8 points for experience, which gives her 20.
Kathy Mitchell, you are not moving on in the infomercial cage match.
Billy
I just
is
want
the
to say
winner.
can I say a brief word about Kathy Mitchell?
Yeah.
I feel like she's the reason we started this show.
I mean, she kind of is.
She's kind of the reason, and so like while this queen today does not move on, she will always be in my heart.
Well, and maybe
She got a raw deal getting matched up with Billy Mays. I'm just gonna
It's
say
hard.
It's a hard
hard.
matchup, but in my heart, Kathy Mitchell is the queen. So Billy Mays is moving on to the final round.
All
But
right,
before
so
we get to the final round, we have to finish off with Joe
the
Fowler.
semifinals.
The semifinals.
This is a great match. I'm
Yeah, this is a
excited
really
for
great
this
matchup.
one.
This is exactly why we do this.
So Joe Fowler for physical strength
Was previously at a 7.
was previously at a 6. You ranked him a 7, but we decided on a 6.
Okay. So I'm gonna say a 5. He took a little bit of damage from Mick and Mimi.
Okay, well, Ed previously had a 4, and I'm going to say he went up against Lance/Vince, who was a 7, so I feel like Ed is at a 2.
Yeah, Ed's dying.
He's
bleeding
barely
out.
alive.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like elder abuse at this point. But yeah, I think a 2 is totally fair. Okay, so for Joe, for cunning, we have a 7.
6. No, we have a...
We have a 7.
Sorry, we have a 7.
Yeah, Joe Fowler has a 7 for cunning in his previous round.
I don't feel like that changes.
I don't feel like that changes either. I feel like he's got Joker energy. And then for Ed McMahon, he had a 3.
I think here's the question. What time of day is this match taking place?
This is a nighttime match.
No, we can't do that to Ed. We can't do that. This is a midday.
Okay. Does he get a break? Does he get to sleep and then wake up? Or is this like we're going right into it?
This is like the next day.
Okay.
So they're still physically beat up, but
Okay.
like he's had a sleep.
Okay, he's at a sleep.
He's had a slumber.
He's at a slumber. Okay, I don't think it's gotten any better.
We'll keep it at 3.
We'll keep it at a 3. Yeah, I don't think his cunning has gotten any better. I don't think Ed McMahon is much of a cunning gentleman.
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
Although I didn't watch a lot of Johnny Carson, maybe he was.
Well, this is not Johnny Carson.
I
This
know.
is mid-90s Ed McMahon, and he's
Okay.
fast decline.
Okay, for our last category, we have experience and wisdom. Joe was previously at a 4.
Yeah.
I suggest we raise him 1 point for winning his match.
I think that's fair. I think any win in the cage gets you an increase in 1 point.
Yeah, so we'll give him a 5.
Yep.
And for Ed, he previously had a 9.
Yeah.
So he would go up to a 10.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I mean, listen, Ed's not winning in physical strength. Yeah, let's do it. A perfect 10.
Okay, a perfect 10. So that gives us Joe Fowler with a 5 for strength, a 7 for cunning, and a 5 for experience and wisdom. He's at a 17.
Okay.
And Ed has a 2 for strength, a 3 for cunning, and a 10 for experience. That puts him at 15. Joe Fowler is our winner. Okay, so we're on to our final round of our Infomercial host cage match. We have Billy Mays against Joe Fowler. So let's start off with strength.
Okay.
Billy was previously at a 10.
Yeah.
He was up against Kathy. Does he lose any strength because of his previous round?
So he did lose 1 strength. However, he regained that strength because there was so much food left over that was made from the Express Ready Set Go that he has carbo loaded, regained his strength. Okay?
See, I feel like that doesn't regain your strength. I feel like you're taking a nap. I feel like that further decreases his strength.
See, this is where we disagree because when you're fighting, you burn calories and you need replenishment.
Well, sure, but a kukitsa and some cine minis
Yeah.
and some corn dogs, I feel like
Yeah.
he's taking a nap.
Well, he didn't need all of it. He picked and chose. I will say he gained 0.5 strength back.
The other thing here is that Kathy may have, cooked things for previous opponents, right?
Yeah.
She cooked some things for Joe Farrago. He didn't finish them all.
Okay.
They were left out overnight, and then Billy ate them.
Spoiled.
Billy has eaten spoiled kukitsas.
Oh, so he's down even more strength.
He's throwing up.
Oh God, okay. So he's at like a 7.
He's at like a 7 or an 8.
Okay, let's give him a 7. He ate a rotten corn dog.
Yeah.
However, Joe Fowler, his strength was previously at a 5 after fighting Ed McMahon.
I don't think his strength goes down after fighting Ed.
Yeah.
Are we leaving him at a 5?
We were
then?
leaving him at a 5, yeah. I don't think it goes down either, and actually, I don't know if you noticed, but he is now wearing Ed McMahon's clothes and his glasses.
Okay.
On top of his glasses.
Okay.
Does not gain him any strength, but does gain him charisma.
Oh,
So,
well,
yeah.
charisma is not a category.
Not a
that we
category,
have
but
here.
he just, he's wearing Ed McMahon's clothes.
Okay.
He defaced his corpse.
Okay.
Yeah, so-
Well, maybe that attributes to his cunning. He's going to inhabit Ed's persona and
Yeah.
personality and
He
use
is.
it to influence his opponent.
He will. So Joe Fowler's cunning, I would say, goes to an 8 because he has now taken on the life of Ed McMahon and is almost doing some method acting a little bit. Billy Mays is slightly confused by who he's fighting. Now remember, Billy Mays is throwing up, okay? He's just vomited everywhere. And he sees a man and he doesn't know if it's a mirage or not. Is this Ed McMahon?
He's bleary-eyed.
He's bleary-eyed. He's like, I thought I was going up against Joe Fowler, but this looks like Ed McMahon. Okay. I don't know what's happening. There's a little bit of confusion. Just enough to throw him off. I would say Joe Fowler's at an 8.
7 to an 8.
7 to an 8. Billy Mays' cunning.
I feel like Billy stays the same.
He stays at a 5. He doesn't go down.
Experience, wisdom. Billy was previously at a 7. He does have a lot of experience from beating Kathy. That's a tough match.
That is.
So I feel like he should at least go up a point, if not more.
Well, what I'll say is that, while he loses some strength from her poison food, what he gains back is experience from taking down such another experienced host. It's like when you beat the best, you become better.
Yeah.
I would say that is a fair. So I would say he goes up to an 8 in experience and wisdom.
Okay.
And our friend Joe Fowler.
I don't know if beating Ed gives you a lot of experience.
No, actually,
points.
I think it makes him a little cocky. And actually I think his wisdom goes down a little bit.
Okay.
He has hubris right now. He thinks that I beat Ed McMahon. Look at me. I'm wearing his clothes.
He's high on his own supply.
He's high on his own supply. So I would say his wisdom goes down by 2. I'd say he's at a 3.
2?
Okay.
Let's say 4.
But his wisdom goes down because he thinks that I can just wear this man's clothes and I can become him. There's a lot more to being Ed McMahon than just wearing his tinted glasses.
Okay, that's probably true.
Okay, so I think a 4 is fair.
Okay, we'll give him a 4. So
Okay.
for our final round here, we have Billy with a strength of 7, cunning at 5, and experience wisdom at 8, which puts him at 20.
Mm-hmm.
We have Joe Fowler with a strength of 5, a cunning of 8, and experience wisdom at 4, which puts him at a 17.
17. Meaning
Our winner
a champion.
is Billy Mays.
Cue the confetti. We're going to Disneyland.
Joe Fowler has been annihilated.
Yeah,
He's dead on the floor.
It's going to be a closed casket funeral.
This feels like an example of good overcoming evil because I
Yeah.
feel like Billy is like righteous and like everybody
Yes.
loves him. He's this America's sweetheart.
Yes.
Joe Fowler is an unhinged, insane critical person
Yeah.
that no one enjoys, and so I feel like this is a good outcome.
You know, I feel like this is kind of like Billy Mays is like the ego, right? But Joe Fowler's the id. He's like the evil part of your brain. He's like
shadow?
He's the shadow. It's like angel and devil on your shoulder.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've always gotten bad vibes from Joe Fowler.
Yeah.
And I always was like, he's very strong. He's psychotic. So it makes sense that he got to the final round, but it's good to see the good prevails over evil.
Yeah, I think in today's climate, this is a refreshing outcome.
Yeah, this is like, okay, we know that we can pull through. We don't need to succumb to evil.
This is hope for another day.
This is hope for
that
another
we've
day.
just provided our listeners.
That's right. Billy Mays, you are the first season Infomercial Cage Match champion. Joe Fowler, you're dead. You're dead, buddy. So that's our cage match. I mean, what are some of your thoughts on our first season?
I think it was a pretty good season.
Great hosts.
Great hosts, some not great products, but that's the fun.
Yeah.
Really pissed that our first channel got taken down for absolutely no
It did.
fucking reason.
We were deplatformed.
We were deplatformed. Our previous channel was marked as spam and
Yeah.
removed, and without any explanation or recourse.
Yep.
So this is our new channel, but hopefully going forward we have less issues with that. I don't know.
I'm not sure, but listen, they cannot silence us.
We'll just keep making
We'll
new
keep making them.
channels.
They literally will not silence us. But yeah, I had a lot of great times getting to know our host. Rest in peace, Joe Farago,
Yeah.
who we might have
Yeah.
killed,
We might have contributed.
but we loved him. I mean, it was all love.
Yeah, I mean,
That's Ohana.
He's not the enemy here. Joe Fowler's the enemy.
Joe Fowler's, yeah, I never knew Joe Fowler before, and maybe we'll see him next season. I'm not sure. Right now, he's presumed dead in the cage match. Okay, folks, well, that is season 1 finale of Infomercial.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening, and,
Hopefully we'll be back in the future with a second season. We don't have plans at the moment, but
well, we'll
figure
see.
it out.
We'll see. Hug your magic bullets.
Yeah.
Okay? All right.
Oh, look at that.
The ultimate party machine.
Oh, look at that.
Stop having a boring life.
Oh,